Hey everybody, Adam in my cave with a show and tell that is a walk down memory lane. Recently, Derek Muller from Veritasium asked me to come to his set because he was doing some testing with whether pennies thrown from a high building will kill you. And this was one of the earliest stories we shot on MythBusters. So I was delighted to go help him out. I threw pennies on him from a helicopter. It was super awesome. That's going to be in a video on his channel, which is linked in the description below. But I wanted to talk about my intersection with that because we released a video of the fart catcher recently that I built for MythBusters fart episode. And those specific weird objects are some of my favorite artifacts from the show. And the fart catcher is way up there, honestly. I'm able to say the phrase, I built a fart catcher, right? Like that puts it way up there. However, when people ask me my favorite episode of MythBusters, I often tell them I can't answer that. That is literally an unanswerable question. We shot for 13 years, 18,000 hours on set, 250 episodes. 250 episodes? Yeah, almost 300 hours of television. Jesus. And I say it's impossible to say that there's some pinnacle moment, but I do remember these moments where my entire approach to the job changed. And the very first moment that happened was during penny drop. So the myth is that if you throw a penny from the Empire State Building, it will kill someone when it hits the ground because its terminal velocity will be so high, it'll go to a person, it'll go 6 feet into the ground. I remember visiting the Empire State Building on a field trip as a kid, and we were all telling each other that story on the bus. If you go to the Empire State Building, as we did for the episode, every layer below the observation deck is littered with change. And we did a bunch of pieces to camera from the observation deck. And we had this great math from a NASA scientist who had done some studying in this. He had actually dropped pennies in one of NASA's vacuum drop tanks, and he had come up with the math that a penny has 2 terminal velocities, which is most objects fall stably in their orientation of most resistance. And pennies do not. They actually change. They tumble when they fall. And so a penny has a terminal velocity of about, I think, like 30 miles an hour on its face, 20 to 30 miles an hour on its face, and like 60 to 70 miles per hour on its edge. And it oscillates between those. And just like I'm doing now, I did an explanation to camera back in 2003 about a penny's 2 terminal velocities. And I was on the plane heading back from New York, and understand, this is mid-season 2003, the first time I've ever hosted a TV show, and the show I'm hosting is a hit. It's on Discovery. It's starting to get noticed, but I still have no freaking idea how to do the job that I'm doing. I've just stumbled into this moment of hosting this show, and the parameters are still like this kind of, spinning vortex in my head. But flying back from New York was the first time I realized that I had a point of view about a piece to camera I had done. And my point of view was, it doesn't feel like talking about math is enough. Like I wanted something physical about it. And the reason was I was thinking, if I was watching this, would an explanation of math be enough? And the answer was no, I wanted more. So I thought, okay, well, there must be a way to show a penny's 2 terminal velocities. I mean, you got to be able to build a wind tunnel with one velocity in the end and another velocity at the top. So I resolved to research that when I got home, because back then airplanes didn't have Wi-Fi. And I found that no one had made a wind tunnel at all to do such a thing. And so I thought, oh, maybe I could. And a day later in the M5 shop, I built this. And I still have it for a reason, which will become clear. So I built this, and its construction is pretty straightforward. When I first built it and I put air up through the bottom, I got 80 miles an hour at the bottom, and you wouldn't be surprised, I got 80 miles an hour at the top because there was nothing inhibiting it. So I thought, how do I get a slower airspeed up here? And I discovered popsicle sticks. I taped a couple of them across, and that helped a little bit, but not much. It was forcing it out even more. It's like raising the pressure up here. That's when I started drilling these holes. And I simply was like, this is not me using a plex drill. If you look at them up close, you see there's lots of cracks and everything. And these were just to give some outlet to the pressure created by the popsicle sticks. This was all the theory. And when I finally had this, my hypothesis was, if I get this right and I drop a penny in it, it will tumble up and down in here. And that will prove that a penny has a bifurcated or 2 different terminal velocities. That was my hypothesis. And when I completed construction and started up the air and put a penny in, it did precisely what I thought it was going to do. And I have fresh goosebumps telling you about this now and every single time I tell this story, because that's the moment on MythBusters that I realized that I had something to contribute to this show that was unique, that no one had built this before. And I built it to physically show something that hadn't been physically demonstrated before. The thrill of having my hypothesis confirmed experimentally told me everything I have ever needed to know about science and the practice of science, and the fact that every scientist I have ever met loves their freaking job. Seriously, every working scientist I've ever met loves their job. And I understood in that moment exactly why. All right, enough talking about it. I want to spin it up and let you see it. And right, that's the valve. Now, I will tell you, I only get about 30 seconds of proper operation of this because my compressor can't keep up with these two air nozzles being open all the time, such as it is. But we will hopefully, in just a second, show you a working operation of this. Yeah, okay. Wait, a couple of things I want to say because I was really pleased with Past Me. I talk about cleaning your shop as a gift to future you. So as I pulled this out and I thought, I got this working for the Colbert Show and we never used it for that. But I can't remember how I got it working. Where were the air nozzles and how many of them were there? It turned out I'd written everything I needed to remember here. 2 air nozzles 6 inches below and 2 popsicle sticks occluding the top. In addition to that, on here is my writing from 19 years ago of what the speed of the air going into this inlet was. Yeah. So thank you, Past Me, for writing down all the impertinent information. All right. Here we go. I think I just open this up and I'll toss a penny in from here and you should see it move up and down here for a little while. Actually, I'll pull this. Oh, no, that's historical. I'll leave that. Here we go. There we go, up and down. Dude, still thrilling, amazing. Now it's sort of losing a little bit of its, yeah, there we go. Now I gotta let my compressor charge up again, but this is literally like my superhero origin story. Not that I'm a superhero, but like this is my MythBuster origin story, this specific device. So I really appreciate Derek for tackling this story and wheeling me back into this beautiful wheelhouse. I think he's gonna come on over and take a look at it for his video. But thank you guys for joining me for this show and tell. And again, links to Derek's video and my appearance in it are in the description below. See you guys next time. Before we left, Derek, I wanted to thank you, actually, for calling me up and asking me to be a part of your video, but really putting me back in this headspace. Because I think what people don't realize watching science communicators do their jobs is just how freaking thrilling our jobs are when we learn something brand spanking new about the world.
Oh yeah, no, when you can actually witness something and come up with an idea that no one else has done, like that feels so good.
And you get to a point where I've had someone say to me, not I didn't understand that before, but I've heard I didn't know I could understand that. And like, that's that meta shift, which is the same. I get goosebumps every time that happens for me, right?
I used to work as a teacher, and some lessons, I felt like if I was doing it right, I get chills all the way up the back of my spine, and it's the best feeling.
The other thing about being a teacher is, I did it too for a couple of years. I taught advanced model making, and I was surprised how much teachers work way harder than the students. I thought the teachers were doing their jobs, but like you're doing it right, you're working way harder than those kids.
I totally feel that, yeah.
But listen, this is, anytime you want to bring me in, I would love to play because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Dude, anytime.